You're listening to The Paul Higgins Show, where ambitious tech consultants come to unlock their potential. After 18 years as a global leader, I launched several businesses, culminating in a successful exit. I'm sharing what I learned, plus what's working now from mentoring tech consultants. You will hear leaders within our industry to help you build a business you love that allows you to do what you want. If you are looking for immediate cash flow wins to fuel your growth, go to our free ebook at paulhigginsmentoring.com/roadmap. Imagine you've picked a niche or a niche and you've leveraged some of your network in that niche and niche, but you've maxed it. And you think there must be an association that's just got members that I can easily tap into. But how do you find that association? And more importantly, how do you find a way to support their members? Hello, I'm Paul and welcome to the Paul Higgins Show. This is episode 598. And in this podcast, I talk to Chris Vaughan from Sequence Consulting. And Chris has got a wealth of experience in associations, and he's going to tell you firstly how to find associations and a website that I've never heard of that you're going to absolutely love. The second is who to work with and who to approach to get access to the members. And then finally, what marketing assets to leverage within those associations. And before co-founding Sequence, Chris spent over a decade helping some of the world's leading companies tackle big challenges and to find new ways to grow. He specialized in technology, strategy, and marketing. He worked with organizations like Microsoft, Novell, American Airlines to drive innovation and deliver real results. Chris's experience spans a wide range of industries and regions, giving him a unique perspective on solving complex problems. It's a hands-on, practical approach that now shapes the way he helps associations grow and thrive at Sequence Consulting. The great thing is he has got direct experience in the tech industry, and therefore he makes this interview very specific for you as a tech consultant. You can go and see Chris on our YouTube channel at Paul Higgins Mentoring. And what I'll do now is hand you over to Chris Vaughan from sequenceconsulting.com. Fantastic to have you here, Chris.
Fantastic to be here, Paul. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, look, trade associations. Wow, I've got so many questions for you. It's such, well, I suppose it's been a part of business for centuries, and it's something that keeps reinventing itself. But why don't you take us to who your ideal clients are and your definition of a trade association and what some of the problems you help them solve?
My ideal client is a growth-minded association, right? An association that wants more members or more money or both, and is willing to put in the work and take the risks to make the change. And clients like that get transformational results, and those are the types of organizations we love to work with.
Obviously, you know, some of the problems I may have is not enough members, not enough money. But other than those two things, what are some of the other things that you see that are causing the outcome, which is no money, no members?
A lot of it's technology, right? To be honest, just to jump right into it, you know, these organizations have been behind the curve a long time. They've caught up some, but not quite enough. And it holds them back, right? It makes them move slowly. It takes some things off the table that really would help them grow if they could do it. So that's one. Another is change aversion, right? They're sort of allergic to change by nature. It's organizations that have been around since the American Revolution. It's difficult for them to turn on a dime. And when that's required, oftentimes that's where we come in, is to kind of help them pull them across the line, if you will.
Yeah, great. And what are there any particular industries that you focus on? Like, give us a bit of a snapshot into the associations that you typically work with.
Yeah, there is no typical. There is an association for literally everything under the sun. And we work with every industry that you could possibly think of, from yoga teachers to horse owners to tax preparers to realtors and on and on and on. It's one of the things that's really fascinating about this business.
Yeah, and just on like associations, as you said, it's been around for a long, long time. Are they on the increased decline, stable? Like, what's the industry as far as the numbers of associations?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Last year was just a bumper year for associations. They grew 60% of associations reported growth in membership and revenue. Lots of optimism coming into this year. Good economy had a lot to do with that. You know, the end of COVID had a lot to do with that. But these are good times for associations. They're growing fast and doing a lot of good things.
Right. And is that just recovering what they lost during COVID, or is it more than that?
Yeah, that's another good question too. More than that, I think COVID forced them to make some of that change that I was just talking about. And having done that, they're reaping the rewards of that now and really accelerated growth, into a really good economy. I don't think there's a better combination than that for the kind of folks we work with.
Yeah, fantastic. And the last question, I suppose, is how you typically help the associations. Tell us a little bit about what that looks like from an association point of view.
Often what's holding them back is they're outdated, right? Their value proposition is outdated. Members want different things than they did. They want them in different ways. They want different experiences. And it's very difficult for these organizations to figure that out for themselves, right? We say it's hard to read the label when you're sitting in the jar, right? I mean, the outside perspective really helps them rethink, do the research, do the data analysis, understand what people really want from them, and then reinvent themselves in a way that really delivers that. And that's the secret to growth is meeting your members where they are.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, it's always, as you know, we've all heard before where it's better if your client talks about you rather than you talking about yourself. I'm assuming it's the same thing, like even though the association may know where they want to go, it's hard sometimes for the management to convince the members that they're the right people to make that change. Having someone like you in there saying that,
Yeah.
is, that impartial point of view. And my wife always says, like, I don't know why you pay your golf coach to tell you what you already know, but if that works for you, that's fine. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very true. I mean,
yeah.
part of it's just education about what's possible, and part of it's just the confidence. They're not the first people to ever do this, that it's worked before, that it's going to work for them, and it's going to be okay.
Great. Well, just a reminder, you're listening to Chris, and the key thing, I suppose, is if I look at the strategies that I normally work with tech consultant SaaS partners, and I know you've
Mhm.
got experience in that industry, it's around how do you grow, right?
Yeah,
And we
for
sort of look
sure.
for the simple things, which is they've done their network, they've done their referrals, then they go normally to inbound, outbound strategies, and then they sort
Yeah,
of go to strategic partners. And we always look at, well, surely an association, if you're in the automation industry or you're in the whatever industry that you've targeted, it would make sense for you to go where everyone's already got them, right?
right.
And then we sort of hit a bit of a brick wall. It's a bit like, well, how do I get into this association? Like it
Yeah.
becomes, yeah, it becomes a bit like very topical at the moment. Some people trying to get in or out of America. So, what do you know, given your experience in the technology industry prior to associations and now with associations, that works better than not?
Yeah, that's true. I am a refugee from technology consulting. I did that for many years before I got into this space, and so I've experienced the cycle that you just described. And I always wish I could just tell people start with the association, right? Don't do that last.
Yeah.
Do that first. If you want to fish where the fish are, there's a pond where they're going to gather, right? And they want you in it. And I think that's what it sounds like a lot of your audience doesn't understand or appreciate is how important they are to the organization as well, and that they want folks like your audience who does what your audience does. There is literally an association for everything. I don't care how narrow your niche is. There's an organization for you. There's organizations at the state level, which many people don't realize. They are smaller, they're less expensive, they're easier to penetrate. That's a thing you should certainly be looking into if you're thinking about associations. But I think that the first thing to understand is they want you on the inside, right? It's not difficult to get involved.
Yeah, and who's the best person to normally approach? You go to an association, there's LinkedIn, there's different roles of president, etc. Like, who's normally you find them? Yeah, the best person to, I suppose, approach first.
There's a membership person. There's a director of membership in every organization, or there's a director of partners and sponsors, and either one of them would be eager to have the conversation about how you can get engaged.
And approaches, is it LinkedIn? Is it email? Is it a phone call? Like, is there any particular way that you think is better than others, or is it just what you're good at?
Just get in touch, right? Whatever you're comfortable with. Their job is to talk to you, right? So they're there.
Yeah, and what are the wins for the association? You mentioned it briefly, but what are the things that they want partners to support? Why do they want some partners? What's in it for the
Yeah.
association?
Financial support is part of it, right? You can join as a vendor member, an associate member, affiliate member. So they want the revenue. They would love for you to advertise or sponsor or exhibit at their events. But their members want your expertise. They're in the space. They don't know what you know, right? You have something to offer them. You have experiences or technologies or expertise. And the only way they're going to get that is from you, right? So they want you to share your knowledge with their members. They want you to teach them. They want you to create opportunities to demonstrate things for them, right? That bring value to the memberships, that credit to the association for making those kinds of connections. But that sort of outside influence is extremely valuable to these members who otherwise are just talking to themselves.
Yeah, and you sort of mentioned their events, etc. What have you found to be the best marketing assets that you can tap into when it comes to the associations?
Events are a great place to start. You can typically sponsor at a relatively low level, which gets you some exposure. It gets you to the event so you can network and make introductions and get to know people. And you almost always get the list of people attending, and you almost always get it ahead of time. You can reach out and say, "Hey, Paul, I'm going to be at the event. I would love to catch up and have coffee with you and talk about what's going on." And that's how these things really work. So you get to know who's there, you get the opportunity, people get to know you, you come back again. I think that's really the very best place to start, where there's kind of a critical mass of members all together in one place in person.
So events is one. I know you mentioned their newsletters, their distribution lists. What else is there?
Sure. So if you join as a member, you'll get access to the member directory that you can use. Often they'll let you mail it, once or twice a year, so you can certainly, market to those folks. They all have publications and they're all looking for content. So they have magazines and journals. And if you have something interesting and insightful for their members that's not just a sales pitch, they'd love to have that, right? They want you to create content for them. They want people to present at their events. Again, they don't want to hear your spiel, but if you can talk to them about the technology, if you can share case studies, if you can bring one of your own clients to their event, that's a huge win for them, and that's always an opportunity, and that's typically free.
Yeah, and look, I know that my background was Coca-Cola, and we used to, obviously have a lot of associations that we work with in the time. And I always found that it was best to get one of the members, and normally it's one of the members that it's got either high credibility or a
Yeah,
high voice, so to speak, high social recognition. Try something with them first, and then use them on stage to get them to
exactly.
talk about it. Is that still work in today's world?
Exactly. If you can get an escort essentially into the organization who's willing to stand up there with you, that's fantastic, right? It builds credibility and it builds trust, and it's a great way for you to start networking.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's where those partner managers, etc., are really good at helping you
Absolutely.
vet those people and find those people. What about exclusivity? Like, let's say you're a Zoho partner, and it's the automation industry, as I talked about before, and they've already got some other technology that they're using. Does that normally exclude you, or are they normally taking on? Is it more, like Coke, Pepsi, etc., are welcome to the event?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I Exclusivity would be really, really rare. I think that the door is open, for anyone who has something that they want to contribute. I don't think they, sell exclusive spots. Very, very rarely have I seen that. I think if you have something to offer, then there's a place for you.
And I know that we talked about list, which is, important. With you, have you seen with the advent of AI now that, there's a lot easier to mine the data and the intelligence that the associations have got?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only to mine it, but to act on it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
AI generated content. I've seen that be very successful, right? Sort of AI generated or AI supported marketing tech automation, if you will, can really work. We're well past the days of the mailing list, right? I think we're way deeper into it than that. And I think your audience probably knows more about that than I do.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I think that's where you can do a lot more with the list, get a lot more specific using AI. And there's also a lot of information that's public. There's, different platforms that you can use to leverage that. One that will come to mind in a moment that I know that I've had on the show is a great example of that, which I'll circle back to. And as
Great.
far as, what are some of the mistakes you see people make when they approach associations? What are the ones that you come across?
Well, they want to get before they give, right? So they show up to the event and, they shake a few hands and they walk away with no business and they wonder why. If you want to build the relationship, you've got to contribute something first. Bring some knowledge, bring some connection, bring some experience. You sort of give before you get, and you get a lot farther with these organizations.
Yeah, and as far as terms of agreements, some have, like you said, straight marketing and sponsorship. Others might have a percentage of the revenue that's earned. What's happening currently in the industry around how the associations earn money from the revenue made by partners?
It's straight fee for service, right? It's advertising, it's sponsorships, it's dues, it's events. I mean, that's it. So this is very old school, right? There's no revenue sharing, there's no nothing. There may be different levels you can invest in, or it may be different a little bit depending on how big you are, but in general, you know exactly what you're going to get for what you pay.
Yeah, and people trying to find these associations, what's the best way to find the association in the niche that you've picked?
The secret is called causeIQ.com. It's a database of every nonprofit in the United States, but it will let you filter by type of association, by size, by keyword, by whatever. So if you go into Cause IQ and you type in manufacturing, 3,000 organizations will pop up, right? That you can then narrow down to the folks you want, and the information's there for how to get a hold of them. And that's absolutely where I would start. And you can find your people in 15 minutes, I promise.
Brilliant. And that's causeIQ.com.
CauseIQ.com.
There we
It's
go.
free.
There we go. Well, that's certainly something I wish I had known about a couple of years ago because we've tried every AI and every tool to try to get it. So that's brilliant. Yeah, and that's working with associations to do it. And like you said, move faster, move sooner than you think. Right? Don't leave it to the end. And there's a lot of opportunity as far as the associations themselves and their need for technology. What are you sort of seeing in that space at the moment?
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a number of folks that write association-specific software, which work for smaller organizations, but the larger clients are moving to Salesforce, right? They're moving to some of these higher end platforms, and they have no idea what they're doing, not to be unkind. But it's a new thing for them. I mean, they've never done it before. They've never used a platform. So they have a real need for expertise, not just for implementation, but for sort of ongoing improvement in management and how to really get the most out of these systems. The clients we have who've made the investment and done well are killing it, using some of these tools that are built into Marketing Cloud, for example, using some of the AI that's built into that. But they had a lot of help to get there. Some of these larger organizations, I would think, would be really interesting targets for your audience of folks who are very new to these technologies and looking for help at an affordable level.
Other than talking to you to work out who those people are, what roles should people be approaching or to start that journey?
Yeah, yeah. In the larger associations, it's a CIO, and they'll always be a CIO or a director of IT who's responsible for those things, and those folks usually they're pretty easy to find. They're pretty easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, and what are some of the things that about their day to day that a Salesforce partner, as an example, mightn't be aware of? Like, is there any, if we had to do a quick snapshot of like this is what's going on in their world, so be aware of it. What are
Yeah,
those type of things?
multiple systems. They have multiple systems in the background from various eras of technology that are not integrated and need to be. They do not have marketing automation, which if they want to grow membership will be essential. So how do they pull those things together, right? This sort of kind of mountain of disconnected data and automate it in a way that lets them talk to members more effectively. That's the problem,
Yes.
honestly. And if you can, as you know well, and if you know what you're doing with Salesforce, you can make a pretty big dent in that problem.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I think there's, certainly a lot of products on the app exchange as well that are coming out with Salesforce that then
Absolutely.
can support it as well. So, if you're an ISV and you're looking for that as an opportunity, I think, once again, Chris will have Chris's website is sequenceconsulting.com. We'll have that in the show notes, but also his LinkedIn profile as well. And for you, Chris, I suppose I could have started with this question, but I'm going to end with it before we go to the rapid fire. But why work in associations? Why are you spending your time there?
Because we believe in what they do. I mean, we really think associations change the world. We think they make modern life possible in a lot of ways. And by making them better, we're making the world a better place. So we're mission driven too. Our mission is to help them grow membership and revenue. And that's why we've been doing this for 24 years.
Yeah, well, you must have started very young. So what we're going to do now is pause for a moment to thank our sponsors, and then we're going to come back for the rapid fire. Ever spotted your dream client on LinkedIn only to find yourself bogged down in tedious data transfer at the expense of building that critical relationship? Say goodbye to manual tasks and hello to efficiency with Surfy, Surfe. Surfy transforms you from a virtual assistant into a sales pro by seamlessly capturing, syncing, and enriching contacts from LinkedIn into your preferred sales platform, be it Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, Copper, or even Google Sheets, all in one single click. Imagine reclaiming those precious hours spent on data entry and redirecting them towards nurturing valuable connections and closing deals, which we all love to do. With Surfy, it's not just a dream, it's your new reality. Ready to invest your sales time where it truly matters? Try Surfy today by visiting our resource page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/resources and clicking on Surfy. Elevate your sales game with Surfy because your success starts after the click. So, Chris, ready for the rapid fire?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first one is, what are some of the daily habits that help you run sequenceconsulting.com?
Religious follow-up. Religious follow-up. I run my business on HubSpot and it tells me what to do. Pipeline is everything, and a cold lead is a dead lead. So I stay on top of it every single day.
Brilliant. Next one is, where do you go to find out more about how you grow your business?
No surprise, my own association. This, the Boutique Consultants Forum. It's people like me that have been there and done that I've got a lot to learn from. And I read books by other consultants, who've done better than me. It's very helpful.
Yeah, and I think it's is it Ocean? If you type in Ocean of PDF, I think it is, or Oceans of PDF, it's basically got nearly every book that you could think of that's been published is in there. So then what you can do is take that and you can apply it to your AI, you can apply it to,
Oh, it's brilliant.
yeah, to then get summaries, etc. of that. So and there is a donation that you can make to that, but it's a free service. Rapid fire, and I'm being the host that's taking us off that. So the next is, what's one wish we could grant sequenceconsulting.com a
A clone
client?
of me.
Yeah, well,
No,
it's not far away, I don't think.
I should hope. We've done a good job picking partners, but there's just never enough hours in the day. There's just net to do what you want to do. So I'll be the guinea pig for the first clown. Sign me up.
Yeah, brilliant. And the last one is, like you said, you've been in this industry 24, 25 years. What do you know now that you wish you had known earlier?
Well, it's embarrassing, but I wish I would have gotten involved with my association sooner than I did. I probably, like a lot of your audience, it was one of the last things I thought of, even though I'm in the business. But it certainly has paid off for me in a really, really, really big way, and I wish I'd done it 20 years ago.
Yeah, and look, if you're listening to Chris and thinking, well, where's my association? One option is the Tech Collective. So we do run a community for tech consultants, and there's huge benefits there, like Chris just mentioned with his own, and some of the ones that he supports. But Chris, it's been wonderful having you on the show today. It's sort of always been a bit of a thorn in a lot of tech consultants' sides, and I think you've opened the world up. They can follow you on LinkedIn, and we'll have the links to your website as well. But yeah, thanks for coming on today.
Glad I could help. Thanks for having me.
Great interview with Chris. And I know it's not our standard interview, but I just heard and worked with so many people that have said, look, how do I tap into associations more? So that causeIQ.com is one place to definitely start. Go and check out Chris on his LinkedIn, say that you heard him here. Thank him for coming on. And also share it with peers as well. And if you want to speak to him about opportunities to get into the association space, he's the man or the person to do that. Also, if you're driving, you think, God, that Cause IQ or something like that, or I'm walking, don't forget, if you've got an Apple phone or equivalent on Android, just leave yourself a note so when you get back into your workspace, you can take action. Also, don't forget to check out Chris on our YouTube channel, Paul Higgins Mentoring. And if you love what Chris has said, but also, go and see other videos that we've got on our YouTube channel, and please subscribe and, give me a shout out. And I'll see you next time on the Paul Higgins Show. Time for action. Let me know what you implemented from the show. I promise to respond. Plus, get the Tech Consultants Roadmap at paulhigginsmentoring.com/roadmap.